Come on, bud. There we go. Okay. Oh, I have a mama here today. Okay, come on, Snoggers. Good doggers. Yeah, the doggers. Half the smoke in there somewhere. There we go. Well, that's a little too loud. I could tell that was about to be too loud. Get my coffee. Hey, pup. What are you doing? Closing the door on. Wow. Silly dog. That silly little dog. Slow time-consuming process of grinding the bowls. Come on. So invigorating. Man, brain's still trying to wake itself up. Fucking hell. Oh, God, sweet. Oh. this loaded. There we go. Alright, got that loaded up. Good doggo. I literally trapped him in there. The poor baby. He ain't moving. He ain't moving. I already know how this works. Just let him be there.
Close the door right now. Or if you close the door. Okay, there you go.
Oh my god. He really is a goofy ass dog. I don't get why he loves being in the corner of the lodging room so much. I really don't get it. But whatever. It's kind of just at this point for him to accept it. Outside of just like how much of a weird old goofball that he is about it. Good old coffee. And today is just like also surprisingly, at least so far, not too bad. I heard it was supposed to be on hot as fuck, which I'm sure it probably is going to be, but at least so far it's actually nice and cloudy. It's like, at least it ain't fucking giving me disastrous like heat for now. Oh my god, it's like 70s. Oh, the weather felt nice. But is that gonna last today? Let's see. Oh my god, oh no. Oh yeah, but as soon as it hits like 3 to 4, so within an hour it's gonna just like spike in like to the low 80s. So it's gonna get like 10 degrees hotter. And then it'll cool right back down. Oh, and then there's like a 5 to 10% chance my area may or may not get rain. Oh hell yeah. I like that. That'll definitely help cool things down, and it brings it down to the 60s. Nice. Like that. Because I am definitely done with the fucking heat. I still feel bad for the rest of the planet, at least, especially because they have to deal with a bunch of crazy ass heat, but at least have a little equilibrium up here. So we're going on for news. Well, let's hang out. Oh wait, it's a Sunday. There's probably going to literally be nothing. Great. Man. Hey, Sundays. Because there just has to be like literally nothing. I guess there might be a little something. Keeps getting worse. TOT can't stop moving right there, out of control. Oh my lord. Man, what the fuck has been with TOT lately? like a decade ago, I remember, you know, like first getting politics with their shit. You know, like, and now at this point, they're they're essentially like moving even to the right of how I first discovered their shit. It's like they have genuinely have gotten significantly conservative, like within the past year or two. And it's just generally kind of pathetic, honestly. They pretty much have become like the, you know, like alternative form of establishment media is really is what they've become now at this point. Which to me is just like fucking pathetic. Like, I mean, even if like they are like broadly like sock-in type of fucking you know, like outlet, I mean, at this point it's not even beating around the bush when it comes to just like being defensive of the establishment, despite the idea of trying to challenge it, or at least ostensibly, you know, perceiving themselves as such. But they just aren't. Especially with like fucking Anna, dude. Like I've especially lately been feeling so vindicated for not liking her, honestly. She's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And especially as of lately, oh my god. It's just kind of one of those like, ha, I knew it type of feelings. Because honestly, especially with her, she always like kind of struck me as just more like self-serving more than anything. And it is exceptional with like, you know, lately about her. Like the idea of like, oh, it's like, you know, housing first for homeless people? No, how about we, you know, like continue to fund police? Oh, you think that like, you know, trans people need to have like such respect that like birthing persons thing? How dare you? That's offensive. Like unhinged shit too. Because that, it's, especially I think what really started to kick all that off of her was the whole like birthing person bullshit, which no one says. Like outside of like hyper specific situations, like a, you know, like a medical paper or some shit like that, that is never mentioned or like used as a term really. At least definitely not in just regular layman colloquial terms. Sure shit not. And of course people ask, just simply were asking like, what do you mean? Like, who called you that? I mean, this and that. And she just like decided to quintuple down and be like, oh, you just don't understand. You don't get it. It's like, what? It's like cuckoo much? Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? And now she's done her own version of the left, and now, instead of going to the right, well, going to the right, now she's politically homeless. Which, wouldn't you want to put law and order on yourself? Because you don't like homeless people? And then Jake, I don't know what the fuck's up with him. It's like one day he'll go on like some firebrand rant that I generally agree with, and then the next day he'll basically do something that's kind of the opposite of that. And like bend a knee towards like more established type of ideas or like, you know, positions. And it's like, huh? He's also like been very hyper defensive about Anna too, so he's even moved, you know, too significantly to the right because of some of these issues as well. Maybe honestly not to the same level, because there's been times where even Jank is like kind of, you know, I had to shut Anna down about some stuff. Because there was like that one Trump type that was like, oh yeah, I just want like parent control and, you know, in school education, blah blah blah. And Anna was like being like, oh yeah, he's just concerned about his kids and this and that. And at least Jank understood. It's like, no, he is, you know, doing that because he thinks, you know, gays are being taught to kids and this and that. At least Jank was being on point with that one. So, like, which even says that, like, even Anna's to the right of Jank. And Jank is also not that far behind her. So that generally says something about her. And if anything, it's just a fucking indictment. It's not meant to be seen as good. But of course, she happens to be like the secondary face outside of Jank, you know, for TOIT, so can't get rid of her. Unless she decides to leave herself, which I doubt that will ever happen. unless she somehow gets like a bigger, like bigger like career payout, with some other outlet. And even then, honestly with that, yeah, she probably would. But it just honestly depends on what happens with TR2 specifically. Like, because I know at least Jinx occasionally have like kind of, been resistant to some of her takes, so I wonder if there'll just be an Anna take that'll just be so much even for Jink, and she's like, you know what, I'm done here, and goes to like some other fucking outlet. If that's the case, honestly, like, I'd give it at least a few years, before she goes on Daily Wire or something. I'd at least definitely give it a few months after something like that, for her to be a guest. She's already, like, making some rounds in right-wing podcasts and shit, like Adam Stitch, for example. So, she's already doing it. It's just a matter of time before she makes the waves with bigger outlets. Plus, she's just got the most smuggest, annoying fucking personality I have, like when it comes to, like, in these, like, political commentator types, or, like, news outlet types, or whatever the fuck. She really does just grind my fucking gears a lot. At least this time there's a genuine reason for it. I am actually kind of curious to be like, see what the fuck, where did that video go? Oh, there it is. I might as well at least take a quick little look. So what is, like, the most recent stupid bullshit they've been doing? Since we're kind of on topic. Oh my god, YouTube, would you just fucking full screen the thing? Thank you. Thank you. And yes, it's a foosh.
What is this?
HuffPost delves into the many struggles facing Justice Democrats, the progressive group that endorsed.
Oh boy. Okay, well, so I already have thoughts already, but we'll just save it.
Candidates and gets quite a few people elected, at least in the past. The ladies of the squad are Justice Democrats. Jamal Bowman is another example of a Justice Democrat. But right now it seems that the left-wing coalition is disintegrating, unfortunately, and progressives have different ideas.
Well, okay. All right, well, you know what? I guess so far I don't inherently disagree, because I, think that is at least true.
How to rebuild it. So I'm going to give you a few excerpts, and Cenk is also quoted in the piece. But before we get to Cenk's quote, first the details on the Justice Democrats. Just over 6 years since its founding, Justice Democrats' opposition is more organized, while its mission is more muddled and its coffers depleted. Faced with a shortage of funds, the group laid off 9 of its 20 staff members in mid-July, a move that took many prominent progressives by surprise.
I'm not that surprised by this, because contrary to, like...
Me neither.
Contrary to what a lot of people think, the environment where progressives do best is not when we're being faced with, like, far-right opposition. The environment in which progressives do best is when the problems that we face are unambiguously the fault of, like, neoliberal governance and incompetence, because that way it's really easy to point the finger at them. The problem is that, like, right now, the most important thing to do in American politics is to fight the fascists, and that is equally the case if you're a liberal, progressive, socialist, or communist. So, exactly, the political climate currently favors liberalism because it's seen as a safe and proven alternative to fascism, as opposed to, like, fascism is facing us down, let's put our faith in this, like, new, like, radical progressive worker. Well, so that's public.
I mean, I would at least partially argue that that tide is kind of shifting, because evidently a lot of elements about the current political climate of, the liberal establishment as it stands now is not exactly, convincing people that it's, going to be, stopping fascism necessarily anytime soon. Which, at least when it comes to, like, this more rising tide of labor and things like that, I mean, and also this rising tide of social acceptance, when it comes to, like, queer liberation and, and stuff like that. I mean, it's, like, to me, I just think that that tide is shifting. I mean, it's not totally shifted, but, I mean, I think people are looking for, somewhat of an alternative, even if it's not really radical, so to speak. But the fact that I think people are kind of going towards alternative forms of changing the system to an extent, like via like labor strikes or, or like, doing these big, like, drag rallies or whatever the fuck, these type of things. Like, I mean, these are at least, more of a safe, assured way to, like, kind of change things up a little bit, even if it is more incremental.
I'm not saying I agree with that. Obviously, I fully support the progressive line, but to a lot of voters, they're going to think of it as another unnecessary risk.
And they seem to be returning their main focus back to electoral politics and away from advocacy on policy, except it should be noted that the Justice Democrats have not yet announced any endorsements of primary challengers, of candidates in open seats. And
I mean, honestly, I'd argue that the Justice Dems have kind of like flopped. I mean, at this rate, I was actually initially somewhat of a big proponent of them, when they first were kind of a big thing. Well, here's everything. Zoom has some latest pictures. Lag 8. Well, it's okay. I guess for some reason I didn't have this popped up, but there we go. I was wondering what the hell, what was going on with that. What's this news? Mostly about TYT being shit, but I mean, for the most part, but at least, with this, it's just kind of mainly about, like, at least so far from what it sounds like, just kind of broadly about, like, progressive coalition, electoralism and stuff, but I mean, I don't know quite yet. At least all the specifics, but we'll get to it.
A stark change from what they did previously. Like, the whole point is to primary corporate Democrats in Congress, and they, again, have yet to endorse any new candidates. And
there's not really a wedge to get them on right now, right? Like, think about it. Before there was Black Lives Matter, because during Black Lives Matter, progressives had the front seat, Like, it was...
I'd argue there actually kind of is a wedge. Like, I mean, I would say that wedge is, kind of becoming more and more, I think, this rising tide of labor, especially when you got, like, WGA, SAG, and threats of, like, all these other strikes that are kind of propping up. I know UPS workers are voting to either ratify the contract or to vote against it, depending on how they feel about it. And, which, at least so far from my understanding about their contract, I mean, seems generally not bad. But it definitely doesn't seem absolutely great, but, I mean, it might at least be enough to where it might withhold the strike, but, I mean, at least so far, that's been prolonged, at least, for the meantime. But we'll find out until the end of August with that. But there's also at least been, massive, threats of strikes, for a lot of, like, different retail, for other factors. I know with a place like with John Deere and then with, like, like a few of these other automotive manufacturers as well, like they're potentially going to be, going on strike soon. So, like, especially when it comes to this, wedge, it's, like, I think that's the wedge. And it's growing more and more, and it's becoming a lot more of a rising tide, and it's just only, I think, in my mind, an inevitability before that becomes more of a significant national wedge issue.
Progressive Democrats and the progressive activists who were the loudest and most prominent during BLM because it was like an advocacy movement. And then
they'll be here by 8 to 12, the list of tracking number says. Hell yeah, dude.
Medicare for all, but nobody talks about Medicare for all. Dude, Medicare for all is so cooked, It got talked about in 2016, and then, like, it faded away, and now, like, the fascists are here, and it's such a big deal. And, we're not even going to get a public option. We're all going to go bankrupt from a medical problem. Like, that's it, That's all we get.
I'm curious.
Hey, CJ, I saw that link the first 4 times. Everyone, please remember, I see your links when you first post them. You don't need to repost them. If I ignore them, it's for a reason. Like, I'm not going... Like, if you describe a link, here's Kyle doing a soy boy for Orbmont over AOC, I don't care.
You think about
okay, for us, probably not going to happen. At least not anytime soon. I do at least kind of agree with Vosh with that one because of, like, this, massive far-right influence and fascistic tide in America right now. So many various different legitimate, like these issues, like economically, medically, or otherwise, like Medicare for all, etc., like, they generally have been kind of put on the back burner. And it's like, I don't think for no good reason, obviously, because obviously the rise of fascism is, to me, more threatening, arguably, than just simply potentially going bankrupt over a medical bill, which that also is very threatening, but honestly for different reasons. So it's just like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, well, try to fight for this thing, but maybe never even get it anyway, because fascism, though, but, at least, or fight fascism and at least still have, like, a foundation to at least potentially get that through anyway. It's like, like, at least when it comes to Medicare for all, or like, single-payer system and shit like that, I mean, it's, that, unfortunately, it's not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, eventually, I think it probably will be back on the front burner, but it's going to be a while. I don't think it should have to be the case, and it really shouldn't be. I do think, we can address fascism and, force that to the front, when it comes to as an issue as well, but, I mean, like, you can't bite too many things and try to chew it all at once. So think federal legal week could bring out millennials Zoomer voters if Joe just did an executive order. Yeah, no shit. And you know what's fucking, stupid is that, at least, like, a part of Joe's, like, campaign was at least addressing that. Maybe not overtly to the point where it's like, yeah, we're going to legalize it, but, I mean, he was open to decriminalizing and removing it as Schedule 1. But he hasn't even bothered to consider it. And in fact, ever since he became president, he's actually said that's not a major issue for us. In fact, even Kamal said that. It's like, yeah, we're not even considering that as a problem right now. So, that's not going to happen. Like, they're not even bothering to look at it.
Yeah, look, when we started Just Democrats...
Contrary to what some of you people think, Kyle Kulinski is not and probably never will be an enemy of this channel, okay? I like Kyle.
Wait, why are people in Vosh's community generally trying to make, like, Vosh not like Kyle? I mean, like, why? What did Kyle ever do to him? Like, dude, Kyle's, like, also just one of those dudes who's, like, honestly too friendly for his own good. Like, it took, like, a lot of different stupid shit for Jimmy Dore to eventually just, like, have that bridge burned. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Kyle Kulinski's wife. Okay, I mean, but that's her. And Vosh is also been open to how he's not exactly fond of a lot of her takes. I mean, I'm not exactly fond of every fucking take she makes, and, and I don't necessarily like her immensely, but I do, think, she is right on a lot of issues, and I think at least has, like, when it comes to other issues, like when it comes to, like, foreign affairs, stuff like that, I mean, I at least appreciate her perspective. I mean, I won't necessarily say, like I said, agree with all of it, but, at least, like, in my mind, I, see her as being genuine and actually believes what she says. Or, it's like, it's one of those things where, like, if Kyle, like, wasn't married to her and, stuff like that, it's just like, because Kyle's a dude who can, in a way, suss out bullshit. Is pseudo-fascist Sagar? Well, yeah, I do not like Sagar at all. Like, you're not going to see me defend that stupid fuck by any means. She lies for conservative breaking points audience. I don't think she straight up lies. I just think that those are her takes, but they're just ones I don't necessarily agree with. And also, like, frankly, could just because she might be off the mark about that, which is fine. Like, like there's times where I think Vosh can be off the mark about shit, for example. But hey, that's cool. Still watch him, obviously. Still appreciate his takes and his perspective. But at least, overall, I like Vosh more in comparison to Crystal. Her review of Bari is just as bad as Shapiro's. Not hers. I saw, like, Vosh's reaction to Seanhead's fucking thing about it, and it was so fucking stupid. Vosh has bad media takes. Yes, he does. Oh my god, honestly, the thing I hate Vosh the most of is, like, media takes and music takes. Like, dude, those are the worst takes that he ever has. Like, say what you want about his politics, but his worst takes ever are his media takes of any form. They suck. Like, I mean, and let that be known that, Venom, like, your takes are nowhere near as bad. Particular, but not even close. Never heard his music takes. They're just think about, like, his media takes, but just music. So, I mean, like, it really isn't that much different, frankly. So, he's definitely an oddball. So, mom was going on. So, oh my god, so, yeah, so you decided to bitch out, and she wasn't even the one who, like, did it. She really thinks I'd disappear if I went. Oh my god, dude, you would not. If it's like a round trip and shit, like on the day they gotta leave, I'll literally be like, alright, come on, go back, get it fun. Now you can consider if you want to, like, you know, be here in the future. Wisconsin. Yeah, like a decade ago. A decade ago is not today. Or, frankly, October. But, still. And like I said, I was the one who invited you to the show. Because they were saying it's like, oh, I don't want you to go to a show you don't want to go to, but I'm just was the one, like, even when I found out they were performing, I was like, eh, fuck it, maybe I'll go. It's like, I'm still gonna prod you for it. I'm still gonna prod you about it. But like I said, I'll still keep the idea of Starset touring in mind. Which likely will probably be sometime next year. Probably around this time, if anything. But still, you need to fucking, like, you know, at least have a little vacation. I need to wait to play Spider-Man 2. It will still be there when you come back.
Marianne Williamson, too.
Yes, we started Just Democrats, and by we I mean both me and the co-founders like Sharkat Chakrabarti and yes, Kyle Kalinske and Zach Exley. But also we, as in you guys, the audience, you gave literally millions of dollars to start this group, and we launched it here on the Young Turks, and we were all very clear. You have to challenge the establishment. That's the whole point of this organization. And in the first cycle, we ran 78 races. Zach's original idea, he's one of the co-founders, was to run 435 or 535 races if we could, right? Now that was too ambitious, but I loved him for it, and it was the right way of thinking about it. And then we only won 4 out of the 78. But you normally get a lot of ha-ha that, oh, your winning record's not that good, your winning percentage, etc. But that was a hell of a 4. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Ayanna Presley. And
What do you think is the bottom of the Crystal Kyle bedroom? We already talked about this before, and it's Kyle.
Giant difference in the beginning, right? So we were going in the right direction. But then the organization, for some reason, started worrying about their winning percentage. And then they started running less and less people. And they started running them in only super blue districts because they thought that was more winnable. That's fair. It is more winnable in super blue districts.
I'm kind of torn on this because I think there's a good argument to be made for what Cenk is saying, and I think there's an argument to be made against it.
I mean, yeah. Like, honestly, you know, because I kind of get the idea what the, you know, JD was trying to do, but that's kind of the reason why they failed, though. Like, if you're trying to get, like, these more progressive S type of people through, wouldn't you kind of want them to be in some of these more rural areas? Sure, maybe not rural areas, but more like just in general red areas, or at least more like purple areas, because, you know, like, at that point, you know, it's more of, like, essentially, like, a genuine, like, third position at that point, you know, when it comes to the totality of, like, this duopoly of the, like, whoever's fucking running for either side on that point. And to at least have, like, a genuine challenger on that would be, you know, like, I mean, would be, I think, you know, more beneficial, because when you're addressing things that a lot of, like, conservative, you know, collar, you know, working class types, you know, would, you know, kind of agree with when it comes to, like, you know, better wages and, like, you know, having the government actually address, you know, things, you know, that would help improve the working conditions, things like that. I mean, I do think that would be, you know, something, you know, that, you know, could be very fruitful, because there has been results that, you know, like that have worked. And, I mean, at the same time, running in very blue areas also works too. So it's kind of I would say it's just kind of like, you know, it depends on the area, or I guess the state too. Like, if you're trying to run a Justice Democrat type, or like a progressive Democrat type in the South, like, I mean, unless it's like Birmingham or Savannah, Georgia, or some shit like that, good luck. But, I mean, somewhere in the Midwest, or like a more conservative leaning area in one of these, like, you know, blue states like in Oregon or some shit like that, it could be a possibility. Long shot, but more likely. So, I don't know. I mean, you know, I think it would just depend. You know, it depends on the area, it depends on the state, but they just focus way too much on just playing it safe, and that's actually what fucked them over. If anything, just made them more compliant with the broader establishment of the Democrats, because they have because now they're just more focused on trying to play ball in their terms instead of trying to do a more popular upfront approach with a more unified backing to with these type of progressive elements and shit. So I mean, it's just like, I mean, it just seems like they just played it way too safe, and it ended up fucking them over. Yeah, you want me to see this picture, pops? Oh shit, dude. Bruh, dude, he's rocking a fucking mullet? Hell yeah. Dude, he looks fucking damn good looking for his age, honestly. Well, back in the day, obviously. What's this? Yeah, he definitely, dude, you could tell he was a little bit of a metalhead. He's your age, so about 29, 30. Honestly, I could definitely, see you in him a little bit. Or see him in you, in a way. Dude, you should totally rock a... Maybe not the exact style mullet that he's rocking, but you should totally rock one, bro. I mean, you definitely got, a beard for it, for sure. He's kind of doing the pencil stash vibe, but you could do a full beard vibe. Beard mullet combo.
I do think a gigantic scattershot approach is important.
He was always a skinny man. Probably just had high metabolism. I mean, which I do. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact I have such high metabolism, I legit would be a chalk boy.
No work or
at least a little bit.
Red states, or
I'd definitely at least be more bulky.
A lot of contested districts that could potentially go blue, but they don't put in the effort because they don't have the on-the-ground infrastructure or the energy, and all the consultants are from New York City. So imagine a DNC consultant from New York City trying to plan out strategy for getting a candidate to win an election in some potentially swing district in Alabama, and they're grimacing as they go down there and talking to people. There ain't
no way that's gonna work.
Bullshit really fucks them over when it comes to dealing with areas like that, Middle America, that kind of stuff. So I get that argument. At the same time, I did see people giving the Justice Dems a lot of shit for their low winning percentage early on. It is possible that by doing too much of a scattershot approach, you do kind of dilute the organization, both in terms of focus and funds, and you end up leading people to disrespect the org. I think the problem is that nobody really cares about the Justice Dems anymore. The Justice Dems were exciting for a while, and I still think the Justice Dems are better than your average Democrat. But the name Justice Dems does not elicit this countercultural.
It never did. Honestly, I distinctively remember when this first was announced. I was like, huh? Because honestly, it just sounds so fucking corny for a name. And I think, if I remember, I know Kyle was one of the main dudes who was figuring out a name for it. And I think, he said that they eventually settled on that because he wanted to try to find something that was at least tangential to the idea of being progressive for justice, basically, essentially, which, oh my god, it sounds like it's some Justice League dorky comic shit, honestly. And I think that's another thing, that really, put a sting to it. It was the name. They should have, if I remember, they had other names, the People's Democrats, or I think was one, or just literally called the Progressive Dems or some other shit. There was generally some other names that would have fit way better, that they were thinking of, but I guess were seen as too radical or something, so they wanted to try to make it seem more, I don't know, normie based or something, and it just honestly, it didn't fucking work. And while at least I think, the excitement of it kind of overrode that, I think after a while people just kind of realized it didn't really work. Because honestly, I haven't heard about the JD, the Justice Dems, really for years, up until this point.
I guess attitude. It makes me wonder if the future of
the last time I heard about him was pre-COVID.
Of advocacy in the
that's how long it's been.
Decentralized, where you would have leaders to rally around.
The Left Tea Party. I think that's what Kyle was wanting to call them, the Democratic Tea Party or something like that, or the Leftist Tea Party. you know, like, honestly, you know, there was like, I mean, like, I think Kyle generally wanted to call them something equivocal to that, but I think a lot of other people, and this is why they settled with the name they did, thought it was like too radical and it kind of was too closely related to the more right-wing, you know, movement with that, which it isn't. It's just taking the name. If anything, you're appropriating the name, you know, and trying to, like, take it for your own use. Like, I mean, it's just like, man, and honestly, that would have worked better. Like the Democratic Tea Party movement, or like, you know, Tea Party Democrats, or like, you know, or like, you know, the leftist Tea Party, you know, or some shit. I mean, something like that would have frankly been better in my opinion, because it would have co-opted the whole like Tea Party idea. Maybe some, you know, blue collar working class conservative types might have been like, at least more open to it. Maybe not necessarily like, you know, just immediately be won over, but like, another Tea Party movement, huh? You know, at least it'll kind of open their ear up and be like, oh, what's this about?
Like a title to go by. Does that make any sense? Bernie Sanders did really, really well because he was a great candidate and he commanded a lot of respect. But it wasn't like the Bernie Crats were an actual group that had like funding and staff, you know? It felt like a flash in the pan. And you can make more flashes in the pan. It's not like you can only, you know, it's not like that might only happen once. Vosh, how did the Tea Party succeed? So the thing is, with the Tea Party, the problem is that politics work differently on the right. The right is more willing to concede to reactionary politics because it doesn't necessarily interrupt their pro-business goals. Fascists love collaborationism, but the Democrats aren't because...
Fed went on Social Security cuts, they refused and wanted more, and they ran out of time. Yeah, and if anything, actually, if you remember, I don't know if you remember this, but there's like the whole scandal where a bunch of Tea Party members who were voted in as, like, you know, to weed out these conservative rhino types, like a lot of them legit, yeah, they got absorbed into the greater white-toed blob and into the GOP and became the same rhinos they, you know, were vowed to vote out and shit, because a lot of them were caught with, like, you know, getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, by big lobbyists and getting free vacations and hookers and prostitutes in places like in Israel and shit. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, a lot, you know, not every single one of them, but a lot of them were caught, you know, at, like, big grandiose parties and shit, and it all leaked out, and a lot of them eventually either got usurped or just became a part of the broader GOP now at this point.
Democrats are almost always more anti-corporate than neoliberal Democrats. So the Tea Party...
I don't know if there's, like, any OG, like, Tea Party Republicans that are in, like, Congress or Senate still, but frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least a few of them that just kind of got absorbed into the GOP.
A fuss and then got folded in to the Republican Party, effectively supplanting...
If I still miss all right, I'd still rail against Israel. Well, hey, it wouldn't be that hard because there's a lot of elements of the right that do rail against Israel, but I'd just be careful about that because the elements of the right that I'm talking about are not your friends. Just saying. But yeah, but you are saying that if you sold your soul to do it, so I mean, I guess you wouldn't really care at that point, but yeah, just saying.
Moving them rightward. You know, whereas with the Justice Dems, they kind of have to fight and scrape for every bit they get. The DNC just isn't willing to do this leftward lurch as much as I would like it that they do. So our strategy has to be a little bit different, you know? Yes, the Tea Party also has had a lot of money. There's always going to be more money circling around in right-wing environments because, well, you know.
But we got to scare...
Yeah, they're all pro-big business, including the Tea Party. Which, honestly, it made it very easy for a lot of them to get usurped into the GOP anyway, because, I mean, frankly, they all kind of agreed economically on the same shit anyway. It was, like, for the most part, they just, you know, were butthurt because they weren't going hard enough about it. Like you were saying, when it came to, like, wanting more Social Security cuts and shit like that. They do to Palestinians. Well, yeah, and also, like, there's, like, an ex-Mossad dude even, like, you know, openly talked about that because of, like, you know, a lot of policies and a lot of things that, you know, administrators and heads of that government have said, openly have said, and bragged about. Like, a lot of them have bragged that, yes, we are fascistic and we, you know, are not going to stop anytime soon. Fuck you, basically. Maybe not literally that, but, yeah, they basically pretty much openly say that shit. Like, Netanyahu is literally infamously says, like, one of the biggest mistakes Hitler's done was being manipulated by the Arabs, like the Palestinians and shit, to think that the Jews were the problem. which is just so detached from any fucking form of reality that it's insane. Because that's not even fucking close to what happened, of why he was like that. But yeah, pop off there, you crazy psycho. It's just like, I mean, that's how far and unhinged they are with that shit. So yeah, I mean, hey, I don't disagree with any of that shit. I'm just saying, if you sold your soul to the right and, we're still doing that type of stuff, I'm just saying you would, I mean, frankly, a lot of Nazis would be like, yes! I mean, because honestly, a lot of people on the right who are critical of Israel, frankly, are, Nazistic. Which sucks, and but that's just what it is. They don't actually care about the objective, aspects, of it, and they don't even really give a fuck about the aspects of them doing a genocide or apartheid against Arabs and the Palestinians that do live there. If anything, they just see that as, silver lining of it all. That's what they pretty much see it as. To them, it's once we deal with that country, then the Palestinians are next, basically. They're kind of butthurt that they're not the ones doing it, essentially. The Nazis are butthurt they're not doing apartheid against Palestinians. The Jews are. It's how dare they take our job? Oh my god, I just realized it really is. They took our job! Oh my lord. Dude, oh my god, Nazis are basically just the Jews took our job in a nutshell. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god, I just had an epiphany. Holy shit, a good chunk, because they think they run the fucking world and Nazis want to rule the world, so, yeah, oh my god, it basically is. They took the job we're supposed to have, assholes. What the fuck? We're supposed to be running the world and ruining everyone's lives. Oh my god, that's what they, oh my god, that's really what it is, isn't it, with these fuckers? Holy shit, wow, I just had a major epiphany right there. A good chunk of these fucking Nazis basically just, in a nutshell, are like that. Just with a very horrible, extreme, deadly, fucking psychopathic bent towards it, but nonetheless, it's kind of a good chunk of it. Wow. Even then it's not true. Jews obviously don't run the fucking world. But nonetheless, it's what they think.
People in purple districts, otherwise we can't get their votes in Congress. Because the point isn't to get AOC elected or any one of these people elected. The point is to pass bills,
right,
to pass policy priorities for progressives. But along the way, both the legislators and
when's the right wing a little bent in this whole thing?
Unfortunately, lost their way and they took their eyes off the prize. I have more on that in a second.
In fact, okay, so this is a perfect time to mention one of the biggest obstacles for the organization at the moment, which is fundraising. So I'm going to give you the quote. Alexander Rojas, who is the...
Yeah, because probably no one really gives that much of a shit about the org specifically anymore. Which, hey, considering that there hasn't really been much results, I mean, at first, especially because, yeah, they oversaturated, how many candidates they had, in a sense, and then, with that, didn't really get as many wins. I mean, that's, for, an organization that just started and, had that many candidates in the first place and did at least get some wins, right off the bat, I mean, that's honestly still a W. But then you also got, moving forward from that, it's it just kind of became less and less impactful. And when it comes to that, then, people start getting, at least worse, disenfranchised, and at minimal stop just giving a shit because they don't really see the results. So they are going to go to other, groups or organizations that have, the results.
That's executive
Yeah,
director.
Annie, I think I agree. If, your primary goal here is to win Congress, right? And you want to win Congress with enough seats that you can potentially sway policy. So maybe in the future you actually can do a kind of force the vote situation, or get cabinet appointments where you have power as progressive Democrats. And in order to do that, you don't just want to have AOC win in super ultra mega blue environments, right? You want to have...
It's kind of hard. Damn it. Keep your eyes on the prize. Not that prize.
Win all over the country. But that's easier said than done, right?
With a frying pan? Okay. Alright, maybe you do have your eyes on the prize.
Oh, seeing 5 new junior Democrat progressives come in from Louisiana. But that's that. Saying that is one thing. It doesn't mean it's really doable.
Director told HuffPost, quote, We are vulnerable to sudden changes in grassroots giving. The ebbs and flows for us are bigger. Now remember, Justice Democrats, they take up small dollar donors, grassroots money, and this is my speculation, but you're going to get less funding from grassroots donors if they feel that you are not delivering for them. So I'm going to give you a few examples. When there are...
I mean, I actually do agree with that. I mean, I don't like Anna, at all, but, I mean, she is right about that. Especially as a grassroots-based organization, honestly, it's something that, I'd argue is at least, true with that. If you don't provide results, or at least enough to show that there's at least momentum with your organization, then, yeah, people are far less likely to donate to you. I mean, if you at least, had showed that there's momentum, at least some results, even if you're not winning every single fucking thing, I mean, at least that gives, people some motivation to be like, all right, at least, there's, something to this. There's at least, results here, even though it's not every single thing, at least, at least they're doing shit. But, I mean, like I said, from earlier, I haven't heard about this group really pre-COVID, up until this point. So, obviously, they don't got results, and people stopped giving a shit. So, either, they have to go back to their original, way of doing things, which actually did kind of work, even if it was, oversaturating, with a lot of candidates. I mean, so what? That at least did give some results. And at least showed there's momentum. And that at least, gives people a reason and more of a justification to potentially donate and fundraise for you. Duh.
About Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez voting...
Because Jank, well, I mean, he's only said one thing so far. I mean, it's mostly been Anna talking.
When she should have voted no on an extra $1 billion for Israel, right? That's on top of the funding that we already provide for Israel every single year, billions and billions of dollars. That showed a level of weakness and the willingness to honestly turn her back on the people who have supported her and promoted her and defended her.
Okay, wow. So wait, why? So the video's titled Can't Stop Moving Right, but so far I actually generally agree with what she's saying so far.
She's being
I don't really have much to criticize about this.
Corporate Democrats.
Pre-watch this. Alright, so where's the right-wing Ben? I want to skip to that. Because honestly, there's really not much to add because I honestly do kind of agree with this so far. Is it somewhere over here? Here, we'll go over here.
Foreign policy? Yeah,
Oh shit. Whoa. You put a beanie on out of nowhere.
This. AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene join forces to back doomed Gate Syria troop bill. Man, guys, never listen to a leftist when it comes to foreign policy. As I've said before, you would legitimately have a higher likelihood.
Skip to Jank. Well, I mean, we're at Jank here. Here, we'll just... Yeah, here we go.
That's stupid.
Psych! We're including the Willow.
Oh shit,
Politics is that stupid.
Psych! Instead, what I'm going to do is totally neutralize that by allowing drilling everywhere, including the Willow Project in Alaska. I'm going to give Joe Manchin a pipeline, even though he destroyed 85% of my agenda. I'm going to gratuitously have more and more drilling. So that turns into a zero, and you didn't get anything else. And then you wonder why your funding dried up. They have these total excuses. And I got to say, I talked to Danny Marnes, who did that piece, and I just thought at the end that the piece seemed to emphasize, oh, well, golly gee, the great grassroots funding is drying up for everyone. It's not their fault. Well, why do you think grassroots is drying up? Because there's no hope left. Because we can't even get the bare minimum passed. We can't even get them to fight for the bare minimum. Don't pretend that $15 minimum wage was not the bare minimum. That voting rights was not the bare minimum. No progressive in the...
I mean, so far I'm still not disagreeing with anything.
Mine can pretend that. And don't pretend you fought for it. You're on the record. You did nothing to fight back.
I mean, well, to be fair, Jake, your network is partly complacent with it. I mean, it's your at least you, Jake, are more of a mixed bag about this shit. Cause you'll do this type of shit where I'm like, yeah, he's kind of popping off about this. I don't disagree with what he's saying at all. And then, he makes a point in a dumbass way. Well, do you know the timestamp specifically? Cause, because he'll say some shit like this, but then he'll make a dumbass point like you're saying, and that's what I'm trying to find here.
This part right here is just stupid. This is empty posturing.
I don't really think it is empty posturing. It's just more of like showing and really acknowledging the frustration of why, not really maybe just him, but also people broadly, have with this fucking, system, because a lot of people don't necessarily have hope with the idea that, like, yeah, if these grassroots movements aren't really necessarily providing results, then what's the point? I mean, which shows that there's at least kind of an open door to have like a lot more of an aggressive, radical organization to come in and fill in that gap that people are feeling disenfranchised with. Like, I mean, that's, like, I don't really think that's just empty posturing. I mean, at least in my opinion. But, so that's, like, I mean, I kind of disagree with Asha a little bit on that. I mean, it's definitely just, like, a lot of it's just obviously just being frustrated and just, not really, like, providing nothing inherently substantive. But, I mean, the thing is, though, like, he's not wrong still. Yeah, let's kind of keep moving around. I'm assuming it has to be, like, near the end over here, right?
It's, like, really convenient.
Okay, hold on. I think it says somewhere. Jesus fucking Christ. Was it right here?
Like, you have to be pro-Israel. Politicians and media don't, like, front anything else, because Israel is, like, the perfect...
Oh my fucking god. Yeah, we get it. Israel shit.
Prevention.
Anyway.
And justify support for that. But... being an anti-Semite, of the fact that GOP
just skip it around when he's talking. That makes it sound really funny out of context.
Who are, again, not Jews.
Even if I didn't agree exactly with the plan, and even if I thought, well, I would do it in a different way. Who cares? At least she's leading. At least she's bringing together a coalition. She's fighting back against the establishment. Did it happen? It's a verifiable fact that it didn't happen. And so it breaks my heart to tell you that, but that's the situation we're in. I hope that some of this gets through and they begin to realize that they've let the grassroots down. You can't say...
I also regret to inform you, you can't, quote, destroy the establishment from within when there are like 10 Justice Democrats and hundreds of Democrat congressmen.
Oh, I let you down, I didn't get you anything you wanted, but give me money. But give me money anyway. That is not a compelling argument. But my guess is they won't listen to anybody. They have Washingtonitis. All of them do. All the reporters do, all the...
I mean, you do sometimes too, bro. You catch the slight cold of it too, bro. Don't think you're complacent either.
Dude,
or you're not complacent.
What is that? They think that Joe Biden actually got a lot done. They're so happy and proud of themselves. They're like, what do you mean? We got a little bit of climate change in there. Yeah?
You got an infrastructure bill. Trans people back in the military, because, that's supposed to be amazing. I mean, I guess just for the sheer fact of just, not being discriminatory, but, like, I don't really think anyone should have to be in the military, but that's just my point.
Look, guys, in Washington...
He's coming across kind of hysterical here. I feel like there's a good point underlying this, but he's, like, freaking out. You cannot make all of your policy...
I mean, it's just kind of... you can tell me on Pluto TV. On Pluto TV? Oh, my God. I mean, yeah, I will admit, at this rate, I do kind of see, what I was saying with this, because honestly, yeah, Cenk is... right overall, but I mean, it's like you can't just simply be like, going rant mode. I mean, that's for someone like me to do. It's like, I mean, it's good to do that at least a little bit, but I mean, you gotta at least fill in of like, how do we address that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really kind of the key factor with that. It's just like, you can't just like, go off like that without really filling in like, well, hey, this is why we need to have like, a more national organization that's more aggressive that actually starts, like trying to push this type of stuff, and like do so, via that grassroots, try to push, that via like, strong, aggressive, labor and social progress. Like, I mean, make an advocacy of something outside of just being frustrated with it. It's like, I mean, because that's, at least in my opinion, the difference between just like being hysterical, versus, genuinely being mad and at least, want to try to see shit get done. And the thing is, I do think Cenk, down to the heart of hearts, he probably, has more of a sense about that. But like I said, he also is partly complicit with the Washingtonitis type of shit. At least a little bit. Maybe not to the same degree as, everybody else, but he definitely does. And honestly, at least, like, I mean, so far, at least in that one, and I didn't really say anything I inherently disagree with either, but whatever. I mean, it's just one of those things, TOIT. It's like, they fucking, like, occasionally have, a point that's alright and agreeable, but it's not exactly fucking profound. Pumpkin sexual. Well, fear not, my friend, there's a lot of people fucking pumpkins on the hub. Why? I don't know. And a lot of it pops up around Halloween. I'm not even kidding. I honestly really don't get it. I watched one just to see what the fuck is up with it, because, especially around Halloween time in October, I'll see those videos pop up, and I'm like, what the fuck is up with this? Now, I'll watch one of the videos, and then people ask, like, how's it feel? And apparently, not great. So I don't know why people do it, but I don't know if it's like a meme or what. I don't watch TYT since I went hard anti-trans. Well, yeah, I haven't watched TYT even well before that point. Like, I mean, like, the only time you see me watch TYT is basically that. It's like if somebody else is reacting to them. So it's basically like me reacting to somebody else, like reacting to TYT. So it's me reacting to TYT being reacted by somebody else, which is me reacting to that person and TYT. So it's like a really major convoluted reaction, meta fucking convoluted nonsense ball of absurdity. Jessie Jenner admitted to being a gas so bad it feared her for the rest of its life. What the fuck? Huh? Bruh. Like, I've heard that name before. I don't know much about Jessie Gender. Like, but, and blamed on being raised male. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck that bitch. What a cunt, dude. Oh my fucking god. Unironically, fuck that cunt. Trans content creator. I'm aware of that. I'm familiar with the person. I've just never seen any of their stuff. She's a woke scold. I figured that. That's about as much as I knew about her. A woke school trans content creator. That's about as far as it ever went. So I never gave a fuck to really check out content. But now I'm especially not going to. Fuck that cunt. One of the people who claim he's anti-sex cult, I think. How did I even prop up? Like, see, like, I mean, like, I like Zan, like, generally, but, like, because, honestly, like, he did get crazy fucking absurd shit thrown at him, like, this sex cult shit, like, what? How in the fuck would he have that, and why? Like, he's younger than me, like, it's like, that makes no sense. Like, that's just insane. And plus, he was, abused by his ex, and financially especially, and emotionally, and all this other shit. Like, I mean, so it's like, I mean, I legit, empathize with him, because, like, damn, you got, like, especially for being an up-and-coming content creator, he got, like, shit thrown at him hardcore right off the bat, practically. Which, honestly, I think, has created such animosity, really. And I think, honestly, for me, I think, makes, at least to some extent, at least why I think, he gets too emotionally charged about some elements, about, like, some other creators. Because, like, for example, like, he pretty much is, like, ruled off, like, the leftist mafia just on the verge of Atlantis there. Even though everybody else there, Matt Bender, David Dole, Mike Figueredo, and Rebecca, one of the newer hosts that's there, like, pretty much everyone else, like, they're all open and, to having him on. Like, they actually, like, at some point do want to invite Zan on at some point. So, it's just like, but because Lance has happened to be there, Zan just sees, them as a part of that crowd and just rules them off. Which, like, I mean, it's like, bro, it's like, I mean, not every single person that happens to be affiliated knows about that shit and is a part of that crowd. Like, I mean, because I remember when they talked about that, some people mentioned it's like, oh, well, him and Lance have drama and stuff like that. And at least Mike and Dave were like, yo, we don't know about what the fuck all that is about, you know, but, you know, like, if, you know, we decide to invite him and Lance doesn't want to be on for that or whatever the hell, that's up to him. You know, that will be brought up, you know, when that time comes, if it happens to be. Like, we don't know anything about it. Like, they openly said we do not know anything about it because we don't care about drama bullshit. You know, it's like, because they, you know, because at least, you know, Mike, at least how he puts, like, you know, I'm more about trying to, like, organize a more, like, unified lefty front, you know, when it comes to, you know, things. You know, so I try to avoid, you know, interpersonal drama shit, which I honestly totally feel them. And I do think, you know, in a lot of ways can, but, you know, get in the way, you know, of genuine, you know, like, coalition building, where I think it could be actually useful. I don't really think that's necessarily the fault of one person or the other, but, you know, it's just like, or like one group or another group or whatever the fuck. It's just the general fucking zeitgeist of it. And just the broader lefty infighting shit that it's just the left is always guilty of. Flush primary news sources. They're not for me. And you shouldn't have only two people as primary news sources. Was she Illuminati? She's not on the podcast anymore. Actually, as soon as that shit came up, she immediately left and quit, and they didn't know why at first. And then a lot of people in their audience started asking about why isn't she here anymore? Have you heard about the drama? And then they made a show addressing it, and they said, look, we looked into it once we realized who she was, and even once we found out she was a landlord, we were like, oh, fuck her. Like, they basically immediately, as soon as they dug into why she left and everything, they were like, oh, well, she's a bitch. Lagging. That's on your end. Just go back and fucking listen to what I'm saying then, or something, I don't know. But, yeah, like I'm saying, though, like, she fucking, you know, like, left on her own, and eventually they looked into it, like, shortly after that, wondering why she did, and they realized, oh, yeah, she's a narcissistic fucking manipulator. So they immediately, all of them cut ties immediately from her since. And then, but, you know, at least when it comes to, like, Lance, I mean, still there. I mean, so, I mean, and also when it came to, you know, addressing Illuminati, he even says, like, yeah, once, you know, we all, like, you know, were delving into it, and we all, like, went, hey, do you realize, like, how much shit is actually behind all this? And, you know, he went, oh. he kind of went, oh, shit. You know, so it's like, you know, pretty much everybody, you know, went like, all right, yeah, no, it's like, this isn't, yeah, like, she ain't someone to defend, you know, we're cutting ties with her. Granted, it took him a minute, but, you know, I think a lot of it's just because, you know, they, you know, just, you know, like, you know, are doing other shit, so, and they focus on dealing with other stuff, like, I mean, David, Matt, Mike, I mean, they all do other shit. And aren't attached to any of that necessarily. Serves a bad takes. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. See, this is what I mean. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I listen to Lance on the Leftist Mafia, and he has takes that are fine. Like, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't care. Aside all this, I'm not even talking about that anymore at this point. I mean, either way, it just kind of still shows, like, I mean, he's still, like, you know, has way too much of a sense to be kind of reactionary about shit. I think a lot of it's just because of, you know, a lot of his past experiences, which I, you know, don't blame him for. but I mean, he's like kind of too quick to just rule off people just because they happen to be tangentially related to somebody that, you know, was affiliated with that. Like I said, with like Mike, David, or Matt, like just because they all happen to be on the same podcast as one dude. But anyway, wish I could hear side conversation, but since I can't, I'm gonna assume I won. Well, I gotta go to work anyway, so, and that is honestly the most dumbest fucking, like, way to, like, be like, I won because I couldn't hear. So, yeah, okay, well, whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna go off to work, so, anyway, peace out, and of course, be back around when I get off, and all that fun shit, so,